The quantum sensors aboard the Meridian observation post, Stars Whisper, had maintained their vigilant watch for over 3,000 years. Through the ages, they had recorded the gentle dance of galaxies, the birth of stars, and the subtle rhythms of space-time itself. But on this day, they detected something unprecedented: absolute silence. First observer Nara Voss pressed her four-fingered hands against the crystalline display, her iridescent scales reflecting the emergency lights that now bathed the station's bridge. The quantum field readings couldn't be correct. Throughout known space, reality itself appeared to be unraveling. "High Council," she transmitted, her typically melodic voice tight with concern. "The anomaly has grown exponentially. 38 systems have gone dark in the past solar rotation." The holographic projections of the Meridian Alliance's ruling council shimmered before her, representatives of the 12 eldest spacefaring species who had guided their civilization since the Great Awakening. Elder Zhao, the last of the silicon-based Litharians, spoke first. "Show us." Naira gestured, and a three-dimensional map of the galaxy materialized. Scattered throughout the outer arms, vast regions of space were marked in pulsing red, areas where the quantum field had simply ceased to exist. As they watched, another system winked out of existence. "The void consumes faster than our models predicted," rumbled Archon Kex, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns of distress. "Our evacuation efforts cannot keep pace." The Meridian Alliance had encountered many challenges in their 50,000 years of unified existence. They had survived supernova, deflected rogue planets, and negotiated peace between countless emerging civilizations. But they had never faced anything like the void. A quantum-based entity that didn't simply destroy matter, but erased the very fabric of reality itself. "The barrier arrays?" Elder Zhao inquired. "Failing," Naira reported. "The void adapts. Each defense we create, it learns to bypass. It's as if it operates on principles we cannot comprehend." She hesitated before adding, "There may be another option." The council members shifted, their attention sharpening. In their desperate search for solutions, they had already examined thousands of possibilities. "Speak," Observer Voss encouraged Elder Zhao. 3 cycles ago, we detected an unusual quantum signature from a previously uncharted system. The inhabitants are pre-FTL, but their neural patterns." She brought up a new display showing complex waveform analyses. "They create natural quantum interference patterns unlike anything in our records." "Impossible," declared Archon Kex. "Biological quantum coherence cannot exist at macro scales." "Nevertheless," Naira continued, "these beings, they call themselves humans. Their consciousness somehow generates quantum fields that resist entropy. More importantly, their patterns share frequencies with the void itself." The council chambers erupted in overlapping discussions. Elder Zhao raised a crystalline appendage for silence. "You suggest we seek help from a species that hasn't even achieved interstellar travel." "I suggest," Naira said carefully, "that in our search for complexity, we may have overlooked the power of simplicity. These humans, they're chaotic, unpredictable. Their thought patterns shouldn't be possible, yet they exist. Perhaps that very impossibility is what we need." Before the council could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The void had appeared at the edge of their sensor range, a writhing mass of unspace that devoured light itself. "Time has run out," Elder Zhao declared. "Observer Voss, you have authorization to proceed with your hypothesis. Send the signal." Naira's hands flew across the controls, preparing a quantum-entangled transmission that would bypass normal space-time limitations. Into that signal, she encoded the distilled knowledge of the Meridian Alliance, their history, their science, and most importantly, their warning. As she worked, she watched the sensor readings from the distant blue world called Earth. Their civilization was young, fractious, and by Meridian standards, hopelessly primitive. Yet there was something about their quantum signatures that gave her hope. Where meridian minds showed elegant ordered patterns, human consciousness was a storm of possibility, beautiful in its chaos. The void drew closer, reality crumbling at its edges. Naira sent the signal just as the quantum sensors began to fail. In her final log entry, she recorded, "To the humans who received this message, your minds hold a power you don't yet understand. You see chaos where we see order, possibility where we see certainty. Perhaps in this crisis, that will make all the difference. The fate of all consciousness now rests in your hands." The signal streaked across space-time, carrying with it the desperate hopes of an ancient civilization. As the Stars Whisper observation post vanished into the void, its quantum pulse crossed the vast distance between galaxies, seeking a small blue planet where humanity was about to discover they weren't alone in the universe, and that they might be its last hope for survival. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the massive wall display in NASA's Quantum Detection Array facility, her coffee long forgotten in her hand. The signal they detected 3 weeks ago had changed everything. First came the mathematical sequences, proof it was artificial. Then the data packets began unfolding, revealing technologies and concepts that threatened to overturn modern physics. "They're coming," she announced to the assembled emergency committee. "The quantum distortions we detected last month, they're not natural phenomena. They're refugees." Admiral James Martinez leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic projections. "How many ships?" "Thousands," Sarah replied, adjusting her display. "But that's not the concerning part. They're being pursued by something our instruments can barely detect. Where it passes, space-time itself becomes discontinuous. The ESS Hawking, humanity's first faster-than-light capable ship, had been rushed to completion using insights gained from the alien transmission. Now it floated in high Earth orbit, a testament to human engineering and desperation. Originally planned as an exploration vessel, it would instead serve as humanity's first line of defense." Captain Maya Patel stood on the Hawking's bridge, watching her crew make final preparations. They were scientists, explorers, and soldiers, the best Earth had to offer, now thrust into a crisis they barely understood. "Status report," she commanded. "FTL drive showing green," Lieutenant Kovic reported from engineering. "Those alien equations work better than we could have imagined. Whatever they are, they're centuries ahead of us. And yet they're running from something," Maya mused. "Dr. Chen, are you receiving the latest quantum readings?" Sarah's voice came through the comm, tense with excitement and fear. "The distortions are increasing, Captain, based on these patterns. I think they're trying to communicate." The space ahead of the Hawking suddenly writhed, reality twisting as dozens of ships emerged from what looked like tears in space-time itself. They were beautiful organic curves blended with crystalline structures, looking more grown than built. But many were damaged, their elegant forms scared and broken. "This is Captain Maya Patel of the Earth ship Hawking." She broadcast on all frequencies. "We received your message and stand ready to assist." The response came not in words but in direct quantum transmissions that the ship's computers struggled to decode. Images and concepts flooded their minds. The Meridian Alliance, their desperate flight, and the horror that pursued them. "Multiple quantum anomalies detected," Kovic shouted. "Whatever's chasing them, it's here." The void emerged like an oil slick across reality, tendrils of unspace reaching for the fleeing Meridian ships. Maya watched in horror as one of the alien vessels simply ceased to exist, not destroyed but erased from reality itself. "Dr. Chen," Maya called, "you said human consciousness generates quantum interference patterns. Could we use that?" "Theoretically, yes, but we'd need to amplify it somehow." Sarah's voice trailed off as she ran calculations. "A Hawking's quantum core. It's based on their technology, but built by human minds. What if we reverse the containment field?" "You want to expose our quantum core to human brainwave patterns?" Kovic asked incredulously. "That's insane. The interference could tear the ship apart." Maya watched another Meridian vessel vanish into the void. Sometimes insanity is all we have. Do it. What followed defied conventional physics. The quantum core, designed to harness orderly patterns of spacetime, instead amplified the chaotic quantum signatures of human consciousness. The effect rippled outward, creating a bubble of pure probability chaos. Where this field met the void, reality itself seemed to hiccup. The entity recoiled, its perfect entropy disrupted by the unpredictable patterns of human thought. "It's working," Sarah exclaimed. "The void can't maintain coherence in the presence of human quantum signatures. Captain, if we can extend this field." Maya was already moving. "All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers. We're going to cover the Meridian Fleet's retreat." The Hawking dove into the space between the refugees and the void, its human chaos field creating a corridor of protected spacetime. One by one, the Meridian ships passed through, their own quantum drives synchronizing with the human-generated interference patterns. First observer Naira Voss's voice finally came through their communications, translated into English. "Impossible. You've done the impossible." "How?" Maya allowed herself a small smile as they escorted the fleet to safety. Sometimes the best solutions aren't about being the most advanced. They're about being the most unpredictable. As the last Meridian ship reached safety, humanity had not only made first contact, they had proven themselves worthy allies to one of the most advanced civilizations in existence. But this was just the beginning. The void would return, and next time, they would need more than an improvised defense. The real question was, could humanity's chaos truly be weaponized against entropy itself? The combined research facility beneath the Himalayan mountains hummed with activity. 3 months after first contact, humanity and the Meridian Alliance had created something unprecedented, a laboratory where two radically different approaches to science collided. Dr. Sarah Chen watched as first observer Naira Voss manipulated quantum probability fields with the casual ease of someone with 50,000 years of scientific advancement behind her. The Meridian's iridescent scales shifted colors as she worked, a biological response to intense concentration. "Your species continues to defy explanation," Naira said, examining a holographic display of human brainwave patterns. "By all known laws of quantum mechanics, these neural patterns should collapse into coherence. Instead, they maintain a state of persistent chaos." Sarah adjusted her own instruments, custom-built to bridge the gap between human and Meridian technology. "Maybe that's because you're looking for order where none exists. We've learned that human consciousness operates at the edge of chaos, a perpetual state of almost but not quite pattern formation." Around them, teams of human and Meridian scientists worked on various aspects of what they now called the human chaos theory. Some studied the quantum interference patterns generated by human artists during creation. Others measured the probability fields produced by children at play. Each experiment revealed the same truth. Human minds somehow danced between order and chaos in ways that shouldn't be possible. "Another void incursion detected," announced Admiral Martinez from the command center. "Sector 7, near the Pleiades refugee colony." Everyone paused their work to watch the massive display screen. The void had grown more aggressive since its first encounter with human quantum signatures, as if recognizing humanity as a threat to its very existence. This time, it attacked with purpose, sending tendrils of unspace to probe the colony's defenses. But humanity had been busy. A network of quantum amplifiers, each powered by teams of human operators, created overlapping fields of chaos space that the void couldn't penetrate. The defense held, but the strain on the human operators was visible. Maintaining controlled chaos was exhausting work. "We need a better solution," Sarah muttered, returning to her calculations. "We can't keep playing defense forever." Naira moved to a nearby console, her movements graceful despite her alien physiology. "Perhaps we're approaching this from the wrong direction. We Meridians spent millennia pursuing perfect order, mathematical harmony, absolute prediction. We thought we understood the universe's fundamental nature. But the universe isn't orderly." Sarah finished the thought. "At its core, It's a quantum soup of possibilities. Exactly. And somehow your species evolved to embrace that chaos rather than impose order upon it. Naira's scales shifted to a deep blue of revelation. What if that's not a coincidence? The idea hit Sarah like a thunderbolt. She rushed to the quantum imaging chamber. Naira closed behind. Show me the earliest human consciousness readings we have. Infant brainwaves. The display came to life, showing the chaotic neural patterns of newborn human babies. But there was something else there, something they'd missed before. By the first light, Naira whispered, her scales now pulsing with excitement. The pattern, it's inverse to the void's quantum signature. Sarah's fingers flew across the controls, overlaying multiple datasets. Not just inverse, it's complementary. Human consciousness doesn't just disrupt the void's entropy field. It's naturally evolved to counter it. The implications were staggering. If human consciousness had evolved specifically to generate quantum patterns that could resist entropy itself, what did that say about humanity's role in the universe? What did it say about the void? Admiral Martinez's voice cut through their revelation. Dr. Chen, Observer Voss, we're detecting something new. The void. It's changing tactics. The main display showed a horrifying sight. Instead of trying to erase reality directly, the void now seemed to be corrupting it, twisting space-time into configurations that hurt to look at. The quantum amplifier network was holding, but the human operators were reporting intense headaches, nosebleeds, and, in some cases, unconsciousness. It's adapting, Naira said grimly, learning from each encounter with human chaos patterns. Sarah watched the data streams, her mind racing. Then we need to adapt faster. If human consciousness evolved to counter the void, maybe we can accelerate that evolution. She pulled up the designs for the quantum amplifiers, then overlaid them with Meridian biotechnology schematics. We've been trying to use technology to amplify human chaos. But what if instead we used it to enhance our natural ability to generate it? Naira's scales shifted to a color Sarah had never seen before, something between hope and fear. You're suggesting we modify human consciousness itself. The risks would be enormous. The void, his entropy incarnate, Sarah replied, her voice firm. It's the heat death of the universe given form, and somehow humanity evolved specifically to fight it. I don't think that's an accident. Before they could discuss further, alarms blared throughout the facility. The void had breached the outer perimeter of the Pleiades colony. Hundreds of Meridian refugees were about to die unless someone found a solution fast. Sarah looked at the complex equations floating before her, the mathematics of human consciousness itself. We're out of time for safe solutions, she declared. It's time to embrace the chaos. As she began reprogramming the quantum amplifiers, she couldn't help but wonder. Had humanity's entire evolution been leading to this moment? And if so, what would they become when they finally unleashed their full potential against the entropy that threatened to consume everything? The holographic war room deep within the Himalayan facility was crowded with both human and Meridian leaders. Captain Maya Patel stood before them, her uniform bearing the new insignia of the Combined Defense Force. A spiral galaxy merged with a DNA helix. Operation Butterfly Effect, she announced, bringing up a complex simulation. Dr. Chen's team has discovered that human consciousness doesn't just resist the void. It was designed to destroy it. Elder Zhou's crystalline form pulsed with concern. Designed by whom, Captain? By evolution itself, Sarah Chen answered, stepping forward. The universe naturally trends toward entropy. The void is that principle given consciousness. But where there's entropy, there must be nigentropy. That's us. That's what humanity represents. The simulation showed the new neural interfaces they'd developed. Delicate crowns of Meridian biotechnology, merged with human quantum computing. Each one would amplify its wearer's natural ability to generate chaos patterns while protecting them from mental strain. Admiral Martinez gestured to the display. We've identified 3,000 volunteers worldwide. Artists, musicians, mathematicians, even children. people whose brains naturally generate the strongest chaos patterns. With these interfaces, they'll form the core of our offense against the void. And what of the risk? Naira asked, her scales shifting in patterns of worry. Amplifying human consciousness to such degrees, the volunteers could lose themselves entirely. They know the risks, Maya replied softly. They volunteered anyway. That's what humans do when everything is at stake. The plan was audacious. The volunteers would be connected through a quantum network, their combined consciousness creating a cascade of chaos that would ripple through space-time itself. The Meridians would provide the technological framework, but the raw power would come from human minds unleashed. In orbit, the ESS Hawking had been retrofitted with new quantum cores designed to channel and direct the chaos field. Maya would command the space operation, while Sarah coordinated the volunteers on the ground. The void is approaching the Orion colony, Lieutenant Kovic reported from his station. 15 million refugees are in its path. It's now or never. Maya took a deep breath. Begin Operation Butterfly Effect. All volunteers to their stations. Around the world, in specially constructed chambers, the volunteers took their places. Parents hugged their children goodbye. Artists set down their tools, and scientists stepped away from their equations. Each volunteer wore one of the neural interfaces, its crystalline surface pulsing in sync with their thoughts. Sarah watched from the control center as the network came online. The first few hundred volunteers synchronized easily, their chaos patterns harmonizing into something larger. But as more minds joined, the quantum field began to fluctuate wildly. Pattern instability at 30%, Naira reported, her scales flickering with alarm. The human minds, they're resonating too strongly. The field could collapse. Sarah gripped her console. No, not collapse. Evolve. Look at the frequency patterns. The quantum chaos wasn't falling apart. It was reconfiguring itself into something new. As all 3,000 volunteers fully connected, their combined consciousness created something unprecedented. A quantum field that existed in all possible states simultaneously, a wave of pure probability that defied the very concept of entropy. In orbit, Maya watched as the field expanded outward from Earth. All ships maintained position. We're about to make history, or unmake it. The void sensed the approaching chaos and recoiled. For the first time, the entity showed something that could only be described as fear. It tried to retreat, but the quantum field was everywhere and nowhere, a manifestation of humanity's collective ability to imagine the impossible. But then something unexpected happened. As the chaos field touched the void, both began to change. The volunteers reported strange visions, glimpses of what the void truly was, where it came from, why it existed. Captain, Sarah's voice crackled through the comm, filled with wonder and terror. The void. It's not our enemy. It's our opposite, our twin. And we're about to determine which of us shapes the future of consciousness itself. The quantum field expanded further, humanity's chaotic nature amplified across light years of space. The final confrontation between order and chaos, entropy and life, was about to begin. But its outcome would depend not on technology or power, but on a simple truth. When faced with the impossible, humanity's greatest strength was its ability to imagine new possibilities. As reality itself seemed to hold its breath, Maya sent a final message to the fleet. All ships, battle stations, we're about to find out if chaos really does rule the universe. Reality rippled like a pond disturbed by countless raindrops as 3,000 human minds, amplified and united, confronted the fundamental force of entropy itself. The void, for the first time in its eternal existence, hesitated. In the Himalayan control center, Sarah Chen watched through tear-filled eyes as the volunteers' consciousness expanded beyond normal spacetime. Their combined quantum field had become something new, not just chaos, but creative chaos, the kind that spawned stars and gave birth to life itself. Neural patterns are transcending normal parameters, Naira reported, her scales shifting through colors never seen before. They're not just fighting the void, they're communicating with it. Through the quantum network, the volunteers began to understand. The void wasn't a malevolent force seeking to destroy existence. It was the universe's attempt to reset itself, to start over in the face of what it perceived as terminal entropy. But in doing so, it would erase all consciousness, all possibility, all hope. Captain Maya Patel's voice crackled through the calm from the ESS Hawking. The void is responding to the chaos field. It's changing. On screens throughout the facility, they watched as the void's pure entropy began to intermingle with human chaos patterns. Where they met, new forms of reality spontaneously emerge, impossible geometries that somehow made sense, colors that couldn't exist yet did, mathematics that broke every known law while creating new ones. "Don't you see?" Sarah whispered, finally understanding. "We're not supposed to fight it. We're supposed to complete it." The volunteers, their minds now operating on levels beyond normal human consciousness, reached the same conclusion. Instead of attacking the void, they began to harmonize with it. Their chaos patterns didn't disrupt its entropy. They transformed it. Admiral Martinez stared at the readings in disbelief. The void. It's becoming something else. Something new. Elder Zhou's crystalline form vibrated with revelation. After 50,000 years, we finally understand. The Meridian Alliance sought to impose perfect order on the universe. The void represented perfect entropy. But humanity exists in between, in the creative chaos where life itself emerges. Through the neural interfaces, the volunteers shared their most human traits with the void. Imagination, creativity, the ability to see patterns in chaos and possibility in destruction. In return, the void shared its own nature, the profound peace of entropy, the necessity of endings to enable new beginnings. Sarah watched in awe as new equations wrote themselves across her screens, the mathematics of a universe where order and chaos danced in perfect balance, where entropy and creativity were no longer opponents but partners in an eternal cycle of renewal. In orbit, Maya witnessed the transformation firsthand. The void was no longer a force of unmaking, but had become a shimmering quantum field that preserved consciousness while allowing for change and growth. It was evolution given form, possibility made manifest. The volunteers, Naira suddenly called out, her scales pulsing with alarm. "Their patterns are starting to destabilize. We need to disconnect them before." But the volunteers themselves made the decision. One by one, they began to disconnect from the network, their enhanced consciousness returning to normal human parameters. As they did, they left behind something precious, their understanding of chaos as a creative force, embedded within the very fabric of space-time itself. The last to disconnect was a young artist named David, whose chaos patterns had been among the strongest. As the neural interface powered down, he smiled. "We didn't need to defeat it," he said softly. "We just needed to remind the universe that destruction isn't the only way to fight entropy. Creation works better." In the days that followed, the combined human and Meridian scientists studied what they had wrought. The void still existed, but it had been transformed into a force for renewal rather than erasure. Where it touched reality, it no longer destroyed but rather catalyzed evolution and change. 1 month later, Sarah stood with Naira in the observation dome, watching Earth's sunset. "Did we save the universe?" she asked. Naira's scales shifted to a color of contentment. "No," she replied. "You did something far more important. You taught it how to save itself." "Through chaos," Sarah said with a slight smile. "Through balance," Naira corrected. The Meridians brought order to the galaxy. The void brought entropy. But humanity showed us that between those extremes lies the spark of life itself, the beautiful chaos of creation. As night fell over Earth, new stars seemed to shine a bit brighter than before. Humanity had not just survived its trial by fire. It had discovered its true purpose in the cosmic dance. They were the poets in a universe of physics, the artists in a realm of mathematics, The dreamers who proved that even in the face of fundamental forces, imagination and creativity could reshape reality itself. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for a species just chaotic enough to show it new possibilities. And humanity, for all its flaws and limitations, had proven equal to that cosmic role. They were the children of chaos, the shapers of possibility, and their story was just beginning.